How's it going, everybody? This is the Figuring Out Finance podcast, episode number 17. I'm your host, Chris Rickenbaugh, and I am just getting back from my first seller meeting that trying to buy a house in the area, trying to buy rentals, doing the expired listings calls, and I ended up sitting down with someone today. But before I get into it, go check me out on all the socials. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Figuring It Out Finance. Go check out figuringitoutfinance.com, where you can sign up for my newsletter to stay up on with all the updates that I'm doing with the website. And you can do that through the newsletter. And then you can listen to the podcast. So leave me a like or review or a 5-star review wherever you are listening. So getting right into it today, I just got back from meeting with a seller for the first time who I met doing the expired listing calls. And this guy had his house on the market for a while, trying to sell it, listed well over a year. And it's a split level house, so exactly what I'm looking for, trying to buy. It's a little bit outside the area that I want, but it's right next to a smaller college, so it's going to be perfect to be able to turn a living space into 2 more bedrooms. So it'll be 5 bedrooms in there. He's got a lot of stuff on the lot that can be sold for a little bit more money, that can be used as a down payment. And then he's got a whole garage that's pretty much going to need, it's basically just housing thing. It's got holes in the roof, but that's going to be able to turn into almost a 750 square foot ADU with running water and everything in there. So the house, like I said, split level, so there's a bottom level which is used as the living room with a half bath in there that can be turned into either a small studio or 2 bedrooms with a bathroom down there. And then the upstairs or the middle level, it's the kitchen, and he has it as a dining room, but that could be a small workspace for students. And then he's got a small stairway up to a bathroom and 3 good-sized bedrooms. So a really good-sized house, a good-sized lot, everything I'm looking for. And he told me on the phone that he owned it outright. So I thought, okay, well, this is an opportunity for seller financing. I don't know if the deal is going to work out for me because of what he wants, because his original idea was he wants $275,000 straight cash. And I'm like, well, I'm pretty strapped for cash, and that's going to be really tough in that area where the new builds, some of them, and then finished brand new renovations aren't even going for that type of price. So getting to the bottom of why that price is where we started at. So I didn't even walk around. I didn't see the house. We just sat down at his kitchen table for, just to sit there and talk. So he's 80 years old, and I thought this was just going to be, a quick pop in, 20 to 30 minutes, and then I'll be back on the road. I ended up being there for a little over 2 hours. So, being able to sit down and really get to know that person, get to know their motivation, that's where we started. So at first he sits down and says, if you don't have the $275,000, then you need to move on. I'm like, all right, well, why the $275,000? Well, I need that money to go buy another house, and I have these people looking to do a reverse mortgage, and, just not getting what he wants out of it. Had it listed for well over a year. Nobody sold. He's had a lot of people try and, come in, figure out how to buy the house from him. He's 80 years old, so he's getting there, has some health problems. So he's looking to, sell the house, get to something smaller, because he doesn't want to do that many steps because of a recent health scare. So it's like, all right, how can I do this for you? He's got 2 bed. He said, what I'm looking for is a 2-bed, 1-bath house that's around 800 square feet that I don't have to take any steps. I'm like, well, that's interesting. So, I put that in the back pocket for later. And then we finally get to farther into the conversation. after going through a couple of the different seller finance opportunities to where I can buy it at hard money at a lower price to where he has the down payment for another property that's going to be a lot cheaper. So I can come in, have a lot of room for renovation because it didn't need a ton. It was just going to need a lot of sheetrock, and that's going to make it look brand new. New bathrooms. Kitchen looks pretty good, so just refinishing cabinets. And then more was going to be spent on a good-sized deck coming off the house, turning the basement into, or adding a shower in the basement onto the bathroom, and then turning that into 2 bedrooms or a studio living space. So, we're looking at, I would have to say, let's just say 50,000 worth of updates. So we're trying to figure out how to get him the down payment, how to get him out of the house and me into it where I don't have to come out of pocket for that much. So I'm thinking, okay, I can say, buy it at this cheaper price from you. You can seller finance the rest. Well, turns out that he doesn't own the property outright. He's still got a mortgage on it for about $58,000. So that changes the whole ball game. So now we're looking at, all right, well, how do I pay the $58,000 to where you can seller finance? Then there's a lot of going back and forth that he didn't want to do, just too late at his age, and he didn't want to go through the hassle. I'm like, all right, fine, no problem. So I said, all right, back to the 2-bed, 1-bath. What is that going to take to be able to buy one? I said, all right, we're looking at about 140 to 160. We're probably looking, if I was to buy it for you, which he wanted, rather than me having to pay him straight cash. It's like, all right, well, I'm going to have to spend about $40,000 being able to put the down payment on it and buy the house for you, as well as having it be something that you're comfortable in. When he said, well, what size house did you say you had up there? And I said, well, it's a 2-bed, 1-bath, about 850 square feet. I'm like, that would be perfect for you. He's like, well, why don't you buy this one and I can buy that one? I'm like, well, what about I buy your house and you use that money and I let you live for free in my house, because the money that I'm paying you will just go straight towards the rent. So, through more talking, he really liked that idea, and we didn't settle on anything, but kind of how we're thinking this is going to work is he's able to get out of a house that has a lot of steps. It's a pretty good-sized house. Nobody visits him, so he's willing to go just about anywhere. He wants something that's kind of been renovated, and he doesn't know how much longer he has to live, whether it's, a couple months or a couple years. But he's at that age, so it's like, all right, well, how can we get you to your goal? And that's, how do I go to a smaller house with no steps and have no mortgage? So where my offer and what we kind of came up with was, all right, so we're basically going to trade houses. I'm going to buy his for a lower price that I can come in at a hard money loan and then end up doing the refinance. So that'll give me a lot of room on the backside, and he's able to sell his house for a lot more. So let's just say he's trying to sell it at $250, and then I can buy it hard money with around $100,000. So that's going to be, let's just say, $20,000 out of my pocket for the hard money loan. So I'm going to have about $120,000 into it, but he's going to walk away with $100,000 cash. Now, let's just round it up and say 60 of that's going to go to the bank. So it's really going to be about $40,000 in his pocket. Now, for my house to be able to rent it, just making even numbers, let's just say it's $2,000 a month. He's going to have 12 months, so $24,000, and then let's see, that's 16, and then 8 months. So he's going to have a year and 8 months off of that hard money loan that I'm paying him to be able to pay the rent. So that puts him in a house, gives him no mortgage. He doesn't have to worry about owning anything after he passes. So kind of a win-win deal. And then what I can do is go in, renovate the house. And then when that's completely done, I can refinance the house or even sell it for a good amount. Let's just say 300,000, and I put 120 in. So the spread I'm going to make if I sell it is about, let's just say 150,000, and then I'll pay him the rest of what he wants. So after I pay him, after probably about 100,000, because we can settle on a lower number doing it this way, I'll probably walk away with $20,000 to $40,000 in my pocket. So a lot of hoops to jump through, but just being able to get creative and being able to break down a deal like that, work with the seller, being able to figure out, all right, what is your goal? How can we get you there? Because we sat down and we talked about how many different options. He said, all right, I don't want that. I don't want to build or live in the ADU next to you. How do you buy a house for me? And it's like, all right, well, that's going to be a pain. Then there's a lot of money going back and forth when it would rather just be simple and straight. And then it's like, all right, well, I have a house exactly what you're looking for up the road here. It's quiet neighborhood, safe neighborhood, fence, brand new, pretty much just since I renovated. Going to be no problems with it. How does that sound to you? Oh, well, that's interesting. So a long 2-hour session, but really, really interesting being able to sit down with the seller and, put to the test what I've been learning over the past couple years here and being able to talk and, use my skills and just be creative. So to be determined on if that deal works out, we're going to set up a call next week, and I'll definitely be updating here on the podcast and on all my socials if that deal goes through or all my other deals that I'm working on right now. So I appreciate you tuning into the podcast. Keep listening, keep leaving reviews. Go check out the website and the blogs. All about travel hacking, the Rich Dad Poor Dad series through me describing it on the podcast here. So this is Chris Rickenboss signing off for the Figuring Out Finance podcast. Hope to see you next time.